Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and what we're looking at this time is the Yasunori Blue No. 2 Bunka 165mm knife. So this knife line has a core steel of Owlgami or Blue Paper No. 2 reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi. The heat treat's about 62, that's kind of what they shoot for on these. The construction is a softer stainless cladding on either side of that Owlgami No. 2 for a 3-layer sandwich, and you can see the core steel kind of showing through at the edge here. These are just finished, kind of a finished differentiation to kind of show what looks like a blade road. It's ground, not quite where that physical differentiation is, or that viewable differentiation is on the finish, but it's just their way of highlighting kind of a nice, interesting finish on the knife. The let's see, the weight on the knife, these are light knives, so they're not just going to pop through food. You have to kind of control them. They're not just going to fall through their own volition, given a, like a heavier knife. So you definitely have to kind of put the work in on these and make them do what you want. The weight on these is about 113 grams or 4 ounces, so very light. These dimensions and stuff will vary just a little bit from knife to knife because they're handmade. This particular one, the edge length was just right about 165 from the tip to the chin of the blade, and the overall length was about 11.7 inches. Spine thickness on this one, again, it will vary, but coming out of the handle above the back of the blade, the back of the chin here, is about 3.5 millimeters, and then thins down pretty quick right after that. Kind of a gentle taper all the way to that turn where we get that kind of reverse sword point that comes down, and then we have it thinning out as we get the grind to the tip itself. The blade height is about 44.1 millimeters, so right about 44, and the handle is an octagonal ambidextrous walnut with a black packerwood ferrule, and decent fit and finish on it. You got a little bit of a step here in some pieces of the handle, but you could sand that down if you wanted to. The circumference is about 75 millimeters or 3 inches where the ferrule meets the main part of the handle, and that's kind of a standard size handle. Let's take a close-up look at it. Actually, before we do that, let's do balance point. So the balance point is just maybe about an inch or a little under an inch in front of the handle. And that's pretty good given the short blade, so it still has a real neutral feel on a pinch grip. If you grip back here, it'll just be slightly weight forward balance, but very neutral with the pinch grip. So pretty neat knives. They one of the cool things about them is they've got hand chiseled kanji, and you don't always see that on knives this range, but this particular one has nicely done hand chiseled kanji, and you've also got some embossed kanji on the other side of the blade. One thing I like about the finish on these is that they have a horizontal brush finish to it instead of just the vertical belt kind of machine finish. So when you clean a knife, you're usually cleaning it this way and not up and down. So this will help hide the scratches on the blade. It's one nice thing about that horizontal kind of brushed finish. The grind on it, it's kind of got a little slight hollow behind where the kind of that differentiation mark is there, kind of where that starts popping back down to the edge and curving towards the edge. It feels like there's a slight hollow and then it comes back again. So kind of about where this demarcation line is here, slightly below that, it thins out a little and then kind of comes back just a touch and then back down towards the edge. So at least that's kind of what it feels like. Seat of the pants, running my fingers across it. Food separation is pretty good on these. Performance is good. The tip doesn't go through things like a complete laser, but it works pretty well. And it's got a low amount of belly on it. We'll look at it on the cutting board, but it's a cool knife. The spine could be, on this particular one, could be rounded off just a little bit for some comfort, as well as the choil back here. So if you could put 10 minutes worth of work with some sandpaper on that and have the comfort level increased. I'd say the out-of-box edge on this was maybe about 4 or 5, not superb. I think there's some, in fact, I know there's some lacquer on this, so that covers the edge typically, and so that'll kind of hinder your edge performance. So go ahead and sharpen these out of the box, and they'll get really sharp. They'll sharpen up really, really well and gets nice and sharp. That's one great thing about the Owlgami steel. Cutting board. Let's take a look at it. here's your profile, very gentle curve. Not a lot of flat spot, but kind of a low belly to it. Kind of a flattened out belly. Rock's really nice. I dig in pretty quick, which is typical of these Bunka type knives with the point that they have. So you're not going to rock over anything high, but smaller stuff, it rocks real nice. Great for push, draw strokes, glide and guillotine, various types of strokes where you have a little bit of arc to your cutting stroke, and then you can utilize the shape of that edge. But real smooth. So it's a nicely ground blade. As I said, it'll get really, really sharp if you do your part, and got a lot of cool features. The hand chisel kanji for a little bit of a higher end look and feel. It's just a neat blade. So there you have the Yasunori Awagami No. 2 Bunka 165mm knife.